So two big items to discuss today. One is the X-Culture project, and there is really not much to discuss. It seems like all of you are doing fine, but I would like to say a few words just to make sure that everyone is sort of informed and knows what needs to be done next. And then the exam that is next week. So first, the X-Culture project. So it looks like pretty much all of you have successfully passed the readiness test. The teams were formed on Monday, and then I put another 250 students or so on teams yesterday. So I do have 3 students from this class here who are not on teams, but I think they dropped the course because they haven't done any homework either. So I think they just probably enrolled and then didn't stay in the course. For everybody else, I assume you have received your team assignments. If you maybe want to put that in the comments, so if you know who your team members are, if you received that email, can you just put like a yes or something in the chat room, so I just know that everything's fine. And so as you see, most of the teams at this time have 5 people plus or minus. Some have 6. Some may still have only 4, but we still have quite a few students joining the project in the coming weeks. So we have some students from Australia and New Zealand. They have a later semester start, so it may be a few more days before they join. And then we have a bunch of countries along the equator. So like Colombia, most of them already are on teams, but we have some that are, again, not on a standard sort of summer spring schedule. So they have the semester a little bit, not messed up, but because they don't really have seasons clearly defined, often their semester starts at kind of at an odd time. And so some of them will be joining in the coming days. So it is very possible that you will have an additional team member added to your team probably on Monday, but we'll see. And so in the surveys that you're getting, there is one question there: if you need more team members. In the subsequent surveys for another week or so, you'll have that question. And so when new students come in, we normally try to place them on smaller teams, but we also do pay attention to your preferences. And so if you do request an additional team member, most likely we will be able to add one, and vice versa. If you don't want one, even if your team is small, we usually don't force an additional person onto your team. We did some research looking at how the team size affects team performance. And so what we see is that smaller teams tend to be happier. So they seem to like each other more. The communication is a little bit better, fewer conflicts. And I think the reason for that may be that, if it's a small team, you know everyone. It's hard to sort of hide behind the backs of your team members. So everybody works a little harder. But then when it comes to the quality of the final report, it's not a big difference, but there is a small correlation between the team size and team report quality. So it seems like, 2 heads are better than 1, but 7 heads are better than 5, so to speak. So, but yes, once the team gets bigger, communication becomes a little bit more challenging. Managing the workload distribution is a little bit more difficult. So things like that. So, but yes, the teams probably will be 5 or 6 people once they're fully formed. And as I said, we may be able to add 1 more student in the coming days to your teams. And then there will be always some students who come a little bit late. So even after 2 weeks, even after 3 weeks, sometimes there may be somebody on the waiting list. And so if at that time you do need an additional team member, we may have someone to put on your team at that time. Another thing that I would like to say about team composition before I talk a little bit more about the task, what I see sometimes teams do is when we do the peer evaluations. So far you haven't had the peer evaluations. The question was only, have you communicated with these people? But starting next week, you will see a full-scale peer evaluations where we will ask you things like, is this person working hard? Is this person friendly and collegial, or maybe has conflicts all the time? Is this person communicating with you regularly? Things like that. And so what some teams do is they try to look sort of good, and they do not tell us the truth when there is a problem in the team. So when we ask you, have you had any conflicts? Have you had any problems? Or is this person participating, actively in the project? You sort of would like you don't want to embarrass anyone, and you want your team to look as a good, productive team. And so you don't tell me that there is a problem. And that is a problem, because if we don't know that there is a problem, we cannot help you, we cannot fix it. So what I encourage you to do is be as honest as possible, not critical, but also not overly optimistic. And if there is someone on your team who is not actively participating, do let me know. So we do two things when we see that somebody is not participating actively. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes it does. So when it does, we do two things. One, we obviously will send a sort of warning to that student saying, hey, your team tells me that you're not working hard. What's going on? Do you need help? Are you maybe busy or sick or something else? Or you just don't know what needs to be done? Can we help you? And then if the student improves the performance, which happens almost always, everyone's happy, no problem then. But sometimes the student still does not improve the performance. And when that happens, we will exclude that student from the team. So if your peer evaluations are low 2 weeks in a row, we may kick you out of the project. Again, it happens very, very rarely. So out of several thousand people, we may have, I don't know, maybe like 2 of those in a given week, maybe 3. So it's a very small percentage. But if that happens, we may be able to put a new person on your team. As I said, we have some classes, some countries where the semester starts late. And so we have those students join in a little late. And sometimes we have students who simply join late, like maybe they enrolled in the course a little bit late, like, Erasmus students. Sometimes by the time they get all the paperwork in place, the semester has started. Sometimes we have someone who was maybe sick and couldn't join right away, and so join in late. So if there is a problem in your team and somebody needs to be removed from the team, almost always we can put someone new instead. So therefore, if you tell me about the problem, we'll try to do something about it. But at the same time, again, usually people work very hard. Usually it's not a problem. And even if somebody is not participating actively in the project as you wish them, it's not a problem. Your teams are sizable enough. So send a reminder or 2, let us know about the problem, but carry on with the task. So don't stop if somebody is not communicating, every few days with you or something like that. It does happen sometimes. It's not a problem. It's part of life. Now, in terms of the tasks, so you have received your email with the team assignment, and then you should have received another email yesterday that asks you to report one more time if everyone on the team is communicating. And so again, we need that to know if there is a problem in the team, and if so, we will try to help you so that that you have a good experience. If you have not done so yet, if you go to the resource page, and I assume you've been there many times, but your next real task will be to select your client company. So when you go to this challenges list, you will see 4 companies that work with Alibaba, and then you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 companies total. And so you just click on the link here, it opens the page, you can see what the company wants you to work on. I'll just open a couple of here examples. I don't know, like this one here, for example, Nova Brink. It's a company that makes toys, right? And so you have some company description, you have the questions that they would like to work on. So everything is right here. And then they have the list of the tasks or questions that they would like you to work on. And you just basically go with the flow. If you go to the resource page, you will see the schedule here, what you need to do each day or each week. So on the 7th, we formed the teams. Then you had to tell us by yesterday if you communicated with your team members. Again, it's a very early stage, so we are not that concerned if there is a problem, if somebody didn't respond quite yet. But I will be paying very close attention to the survey that you will be submitting by Sunday. So if somebody is not participating on Thursday and then on Sunday, that's where we get a little bit nervous, and then we try to reach out to the student and see what's going on. And then if the situation does not improve by the next week, that's where we will start excluding them from the teams. But the first real task for your team will be next Sunday. So 10 days from now, you will need to select one of your client companies. And so in the survey that you will receive, there will be a question. So did you select your client company? You will have the option to say, no, we have not selected yet. And if not, it's not a problem. But the sooner you as a team decide which challenge you work on, the more time you actually have to work on that challenge. And you can choose any company you like from this list. Once you select the company, you can change it later as well. So let's say you decided to work on Rosa Fine Food, for example. You like it, but then you have a great idea for deferred chat. And you think, you know what, actually, I will do better if I choose this company. That's perfectly fine. You can do that. So it's not a problem. There will be a question about your client each week. And all you do is just you put the check mark by a different company next week so that we know. Historically, I'm not even sure which ones will be popular this time. So most of these are new companies, and it's hard for me to make the prediction. I know Nova Brink tends to be popular because it's a thing that everybody knows, toys. And so it may be sort of not safer not to choose them, but we select the winner in each company category. And so if you select a less popular company, you have sort of less competition. In a case, it's never happened before, but let's say, I don't know, like let's say Marikana is not popular, for example, and let's say you are the only team in that category, then I guess by default you will be the winner. It never happens. You should expect about, I don't know, on average about 100 teams for each company. But again, some may have like 200 and some may have only 50. So that happens from time to time. But yeah, that's basically it. So once you select your client company, you just follow the instructions. Each week you will provide a little sort of summary of what you're working on. There will be a few additional questions about the communication in your team, about the conflicts in your team, peer evaluations. So things that we need to know how you are doing in case you need help. I send that information, also summarize it. In fact, I can even show you what it looks like. I summarize that information and send it to all the professors. Just one second, let me show you what the sort of behind the scenes looks like. So this is the file that we use for myself just to keep track of everything. So all the thousands of people here, and at this time we don't really have much information because we only started the project, so it's only your names and stuff like that. Let me hide your emails. We don't want that to be so yeah, so I'll do this. But yeah, we have all the information about you as far as where you come from, your university and things like that. And then over time, this is what it looks like once the project sort of approaches the end. So this is from the last semester. And so once it opens, I'll show you what the file looks towards the end of the project. So these are all of the students who participated last semester. And so here first you have all of the basic information such as, country, country born, country home, age, things like that. But then as we move through the semester, so each of these blocks, that's a new week. And so here we see how people sort of, participated, how well they did. So as you can see, like, for example, this one here didn't do so well. So peer evaluations are very low, and the person himself or herself didn't even do the task. And so we probably excluded that person from the project altogether. But then there are many people who do extremely well, like, for example, I don't know, here, Ivan Berezovsky, right? So excellent peer evaluations, very good every week, happy, everything's fine. And so that's what the professors see every week. And normally I tell them red is bad. So if they see anyone with sort of this kind of red stuff, that means that there is a problem there. And again, they obviously get it in a better looking form. So here that's, the internal records. But yeah, like, for example, you see here, we had a student, Najib, who had problems in week, whatever that week it was. It didn't work very well. Probably one of the coaches worked with the student. And then as you can see, everything improved. His peer evaluations went up. And so, although not that much up as I wish, but yeah, he started participating. So everything's fine there. And so this is what the team's composition look like. Again, sort of looks a little, when you get the names, you just see a nice, neat list. But in the real sort of world, it looks something like this. So we color code the countries so that we can see right away how many countries or which different countries you have on the team. Like, for example, here at the United States is blue, and I can see that many of these teams have 2 American students. But like, for example, Team 67, for example, also has a student from Switzerland, from Brazil, from the United States, another one from the United States, Pakistan, and Morocco. And so here you can see the age. So we try to match them more or less by the age, like, these people are a little older, 35 years of age, 27, 28, 35. And then there are a couple of younger students probably added a little late. And so here is a team of executive MBA students. Again, as you can see, all are much older, like 44, 53, 38. But then if you go to some other teams, like here, everybody is about 22, 21. So we try to match you a little bit by the age as much as possible. It's not always possible, but we try to match you by experience, by sort of managerial experience as well. And the reason for that, by the way, is that people complain. So we do a lot of research, and we know that younger teams do not do any worse than older teams. In fact, when we look at the list of the winners, we often have many younger teams on that list. So it seems like young people have still, sort of sharp mind and a lot of motivation. So it is not the case that MBA students or people with 10, 20 years of experience do better. In fact, as I said, because they're older, they often have families, they have jobs, and it almost looks like sometimes they have less time to participate than the younger ones. But every time we mix teams by age, like if I put some MBA students on teams with some undergraduate students, or if I have some older people on the team and some younger people on the team, people with a lot of experience or people without experience, it usually doesn't work very well. So people start complaining. So the older ones say, oh, I don't want to babysit those kids. And the young ones say, oh, they never listen to me. They think they know everything. So even though the data shows that it shouldn't be the case, but we do see that. And so we try to match you more or less with people of your own age and experience and sort of, skill level. So interestingly enough, that seems to work better, even though I would have expected that it shouldn't. So, but yeah, that's basically about X culture. Any questions? Everything clear what you need to be doing? Could you decrease the number of questions for survey? Ilya already, yeah, it makes time for not necessary things. Good question, Ilya. And the answer is probably no. The reason we have so many questions, there are two big reasons. So one, almost all of those questions, we need to know the answers to manage the project. So when we ask you to do peer evaluations every week, when we ask you, how many people are actively participating, is everything okay? We need to know that because the instructors need to know how the students are doing. So in many cases, it is also part of the evaluation for the course. And so they want to have as much information as possible about the students' performance. So not all professors use all of the data, but many want this, that, or that. And so we have to include it. Second, it is very important for us to understand why some teams do better than others. So we do research. Basically, you are, in a way, study subjects here as well. And so we are trying to learn each semester what worked, what didn't, why some people are more likely to have problems, why some people are more likely to be team leaders, why some people are more likely to, I don't know, get high or low peer evaluations. And so we are trying to better understand that by essentially asking those questions. So is it your cultural intelligence? Is it your personality? Is it your cultural background? So things like that. And so I know those questions can be sometimes annoying, and I know that some of those surveys are quite long, but it is sort of both academic and research necessity. So I hope it's not too much trouble, and I hope you can answer them. But yes, it is sort of necessary. I can tell you that we have been able to use those research to improve many things over the years. Like, for example, when you look at the satisfaction ratings today compared to a few years ago, they're much, much higher. Like every week you will have a question, how happy you are, essentially, is everything clear? Are you enjoying working with your team? Now we normally see, like on a 100-point scale, normally we see numbers around 85 on average. When we started a few years ago, it was about 75. So again, I'd like to believe that all the information that we gather and test allows us to make students a little happier. We actually just published a paper where we described what we did to reduce so-called social loafing. So when some people are not working very hard. And so we tested probably like 20 different interventions. We tested team sizes, we tested team compositions. And so we reduced it by about 43%. So according to the results in that study, so it's about 43% fewer people participating so poorly that the team is not happy with them. Again, I wish we could make it, could reduce it to zero. but at least, we cut it almost in half now. So that's quite something. And so we wouldn't be able to do that without all those research questions. So Ilya and everyone, my apology for the many questions each week, but that's sort of necessary so we know what's going on. So, okay, any other questions? All right, so with Xculture, yeah, go ahead, please.
Is it possible to contact the representatives of the company? Because my idea was before jumping into the research, find all of these people, find some managers in this company and make this, how it's called, qualitative research, and what do they think, how to solve this problem, and based on them, make a research. Is it possible?
This is a very, very good question. In fact, probably one of the most important questions I always struggle with. So the answer is yes and no. So yes, you can interact with the company representatives in some ways. So let me share the screen here and show you something. So I'm not sure if you attended any of the webinars, but we do have live meetings with each of the client companies. And so you can click on the link here to see the full list. So for example, we have 3 webinars today, right? So we had the 2 already, and there is 1 going on right now. So you have to miss that one, I assume. There will be another one later on this week, and we will have 1 or 2 more next week. We're still trying to get the time. And then we had several webinars earlier this week and last week. And so you can see the recordings here. So you just click on the link and you will see the meeting with the company representative here. So this one, I believe, is from yesterday. So this is the CEO of the company. And then he had some assistant here with us. And you can see, we asked questions. There were quite a few students attending. And so they had a chance to ask the questions live. If you need to talk to the company, so if you have a sort of legitimate question that we cannot answer or did not answer in the webinar, we will put you in touch with the company representative. But normally we don't do that by default. So we have about 7,000 people, 6.5 thousand people this semester. And so as you can imagine, if everybody starts calling the CEO of the company, trying to talk it just wouldn't work. About 5 semesters ago, so about 2 years ago, we had this interesting situation. The project is about to start, and I bike a lot, so I use my bicycle a lot. And so there is a bike shop on campus of my university called Recycles. And so what they do is they repair bicycles, but they use used parts to repair bicycles. So they believe that it is wrong to send bicycles to the landfills. So they collect old used bicycles, disassemble them, and then reuse every part they can. And so it's a small company. It's like 4 people only. So they repair bicycles and sell bicycles. And so I bring my bike for service there, and we talk, and they say, we actually would like to open a few more stores, maybe like do some franchising, maybe even in some different countries. So it may be of interest, to others. And I'm like, oh, actually, you know what, maybe you should participate in Xculture. And they say, oh, tell us more. And I tell them about the project, and they say, oh, actually, that's very interesting. So maybe we will get some exposure and new clients, but maybe somebody will decide to be our, sort of franchisee, or maybe a partner, so we can have like a chain of these bicycle stores. So let's participate. And then this guy, Merrill is his name, he says, and I would like to actually talk more to the students. Sometimes, we have time here between the bike repairs, so I wouldn't mind talking to them. So would you like to put the phone number for my shop in the challenge instructions? And so they can call me anytime, I'll talk to them. And so we did. And they turned out to be one of the most popular companies. So we had like 300 teams choosing them and working on them. And it was so bad, they said like somebody was calling every 10 minutes. And so they literally just disconnected the phone because the phone was constantly ringing. And they said, first I enjoyed it. Like the first 10 conversations, oh, it's so cool. People are interested in my company and they're calling them, we're talking. But then it became almost impossible to work because somebody is calling every few minutes and, hey, I'm calling from Ghana or I'm calling from Lithuania. So I had this question here, or I just wanted to talk to you. And so obviously that makes it a little bit more difficult that way. And Volodymyr, also to my disappointment, one thing that I would like to do, everyone, is to have a live presentation for the client company at the end of the project, where you have the CEO or the founder, and you present, and they ask questions, and you answer questions. But even that often is impossible because, again, let's say on average there are 100 teams per company. I mean, even if you give everyone, 10 minutes, that's like 1,000 minutes. So it will be like 2 days nonstop of presenting. So it wouldn't be really possible. So what we do now is we do invite you to record a presentation. We will send those recordings to the company, although I'm not sure if they will have time to watch all of them. But then the coaches watch the recordings and they select several best presentations per company. And we still have the sort of live presentation, at least for those few teams. Because again, if every single team had to present, the CEO would need to quit the job for a few days and just listen to the presentations and nothing else. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. So not sure if it's a satisfactory answer, but it's a sort of administrative necessity to do that way just because of the sheer size of the project. So, but yes, we do send all of the reports to the company at the end. In fact, I can show you here as well, something that's behind the scenes. So when the project is over, we send, so there are reports by company. So for each, like, I don't know, let's take, for example, I don't know, Nova Brink, we mentioned that company. So they had 200 teams working on the challenge, 189 last semester. We send them the full collection. So here is a random report from team number, I don't know what team number it is, team number, whatever that is. And so these were the participants from the USA, Switzerland, Brazil, Italy, and India. And that's what they did. And so the company, if it's a smaller number of reports, I assume they would read all of them. Like, I don't know, let's take, for example, Radical, well, also 170, that's also a lot. Let's see, Costier only had 14. So I assume they can read all of them. But another thing we do is we also prepare a so-called executive analytics summary. So our coaches, I assign usually 2 people who read every single report, and then they try to summarize what's in those reports in like 23 pages. So here they would provide all of the, frequency of the most mentioned competitors. So, 65% of the team said that L'Oreal was the competitor. 43% said that Harbitend is a competitor, and so on. And so these are some of the things. And then, most popular countries that people recommended for the company, or I guess that's the competition by country. But so basically they try to summarize all of the key findings from your reports in the shorter sort of executive summary. So frequency of the most mentioned strength. So one of the questions was, what are the strengths of this company? What are the weaknesses of this company? And so they summarized that, like, for example, the weakness is, 54% of the teams that the brand recognition is a problem. 51 said that the marketing strategy is weak and things like that. And so this way, even for the companies that have, like, for example, Radical, 200 reports, 189 teams working on them, and they physically would not be able to read this much paper, we try to still summarize every single idea in that executive analytics summary so that the team still gets it, so that your ideas are still put to a good use. So, all right, any other questions about X-Culture? Good. So now the exam. So the exam is, let me go here, share the screen, and let's take a look about the timing of the exam. Just a second. 1 second. So here is the syllabus. So the exam opens next week. You will have 4 days to complete your exam. So let me just find the exact timing. Yes, exam 1. So it opens on March 14th, on March 17th. And you will have Thursdays, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to complete the test. If you prefer to work on a weekend, you can wait until then. If you prefer to work on the business day, you can do it on Friday or even Thursday evening. Once you start the exam, you will have, I think, 90 minutes, if I remember correctly, to complete it. So there will be 40 questions. You will have 90 minutes. And once you start, you cannot stop. So you can start at any time, but once you start, you cannot stop. And so you have here a study guide. If you click here, you will see what will be on the exam. So you have the list of the chapters here, so nothing unusual. You have chapters 3, 4, 6, 11, and 13. So basically the chapters that you completed. And you have a list of sort of topics or issues that will be covered on each of the exams. I mean, in each of the topics. And so I assume you've been doing the video lectures. I assume you did the readings. And if so, you shouldn't have any problems with the exam questions on the exam. Generally, there is nothing on the exam that was not covered in the video lectures. So as long as you watch them thoughtfully and attentively, you should know all of the answers. So if you didn't get the textbook, if you didn't read the textbook, it should not be a problem. So as long as you did the videos, as long as you sort of carefully listened to everything, you should be fine. The exam is open books, open notes, meaning that you can use whatever resources you want to use for the exam, except for your classmate who did the studying and you didn't. Obviously, that would be problematic, but I hope you will not do that. So, but if you would like to have the slides printed out and you have the copies in front of you, or if you have the exam on one page and the slides on another page, that's perfectly fine. You can do that. What I would do when preparing for the exam, I would go through, I mean, obviously I would watch the video lectures each per week. I probably will not be rewatching the video lectures right before the exam. It just takes too much time. But I would list, flip through the pages in the slides. So I would definitely go to all of the slides, and by now, obviously, you have seen them. So as you can see, they're a little bit more, sort of wordy or detailed than normally. And so you have almost sometimes full sentences there. And I would refresh in your mind everything that you covered as you were watching the video lectures. So just go through the slides, refresh, all the topics, all the issues, all the theories, all the definitions. Not only will that prepare you for the exam itself, but also when you will be doing the exam, if there is something you can't remember right away, let's say there is a question about the entry modes and you forgot what entry modes exist, you remember at least what the slides look like, what to look for. And if so, you can just open the slides, you can go to the slides, you can look up the answer and get your answer quickly and then answer the question and then move on to the next one. So that would be my strategy if I had to use it. Other than that, I guess really no tricks. I mean, this is the kind of course and the kind of exam that, as long as you read it, you probably will know the answers. If you don't read it or don't watch the video lectures, for most of the questions, it will be very difficult to guess the answers. It's not about creativity. It's not about being smart. It's, have you read it or not? If you have, you're good. If you haven't, you probably will not be able to guess the answer. Any questions about that? Now, I'm not sure if we would like to spend time going through the materials in each of the topics. I mean, obviously, you have the video lectures, and there is no point in reviewing the actual each specific topic, separately. But if you would like to ask any questions about the specific issues, I'm not sure, maybe there was something in the lectures on political systems, economic systems, government and international trade and whatever else we covered. So I'm not sure if there was anything there in the lectures that you had difficulties comprehending, understanding, or maybe there were some things that you didn't fully agree with. So now is the time to ask. I don't know if there are any students like that. Anyone? Mohab, you didn't say anything. I can see you, you're a brave student. You switched on your camera, but you didn't say anything. No questions? All right, okay. So, but yeah, that's basically everything that I planned to cover today. As I said, if anything goes wrong with the exam, like let's say you start the exam and then you lose the electricity or your internet goes off, don't panic, send me an email, we'll think what to do about it. So maybe we'll reset your exam and you do it again, or make sure that, if it's a time that I'm up, maybe we'll be able to reset it right away. But that doesn't happen. I mean, I've had maybe 2 students in my whole career that said, I was working on the exam and then a tree fell and the electricity got disconnected, and so I had to. So if that happens, let me know, but I don't expect problems of that kind. And yep, so other than that, it's a standard exam, and students usually get it like 77, on average 78. So there will be some who will get a perfect grade and there will be some who will not do so well. It happens all the time. Any other questions? Ilya, any other questions you may have? No? All right, well, then I guess I'll stop here. Good luck with the exam and good luck with Xculture. And I'll see you around in one of the webinars. We do have one more webinar, as I said, on Saturday, tomorrow, Saturday. And then there will be, I think, 1 or 2 more next week. So I do encourage you to attend them if you can. They tend to be around this time. And so many of you may be at school, at work, and may not join them live. But if you do, that's your opportunity to ask questions of the clients. And most of the clients do have the second webinar later on in the semester by the time when you have questions. And so that one is not so much a presentation for you, but it's more you asking questions and the clients answering them. So that's another opportunity to meet with them. And then several clients actually set up time when they will be available during the week. Like, for example, Differ, so Lars, the company founder there. So there is a time every week. I don't remember when exactly it is, but it's in the challenge instructions. When he said, I will be available online, you can join, basically show up and talk to me at that time. So not all companies do that, but many do. And so this way they can, you just basically come and talk to them at that time. And likewise, I will be holding the office hours at this time, actually every Friday. It will be a walk-in. You don't have to show up, but I will be there basically in front of the computer. And so you can always show up, and if you have any questions or if you have any comments, I will be available for that window every Friday, just simply there. So it will be open not only to you guys in Lithuania, to everyone. So that may be also an opportunity for you to meet other students. Usually nobody really shows up. Like I may have like 3-4 people on at a given week, and many of them don't even have questions. They just say, oh, well, I stopped by to see what other students say. But I will be available in case you do have the questions. And sometimes we actually have a very lively discussion for the whole hour. So everything goes fine. So I may see you at that time, every week essentially. So, but yeah, anything else? Well, then have a nice day. Enjoy your weekend and good luck on the exam next week. All right, bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.